Okay, Blacker, whenever you're ready, I think we're good to go. Blacker?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I think we can start.
Okay.
Can they? Or send my name. What can I? It's common name. I don't know. Just
Actually, or is that Carol Core? Please mute.
when they get in there.
Please mute. Please mute.
Greetings, family and friend, ladies and gentlemen, adults and children. Greetings all. Welcome to Affirming Fatherhood. Affirming Fatherhood initiative of Parenting Partners Caribbean. And we're happy for the few who are gathered in this webinar, shall we call it that. This conversation, I prefer that. This interaction, I like that though. This engagement where we exchange ideas and views and opinions and feelings and hopefully learn together as we advance the purpose of parenting and accentuate the involvement of fatherhood as a part of the parenting matrix. So my name is Owen Blacker Elliott, and I'm a partner with Parenting Partners. I'm very proud to be one of the men among the partners, and we are happy to be doing this. I want to begin by just sharing reflection, an affirmation, a blessing, a benediction to open. To just say that tomorrow is a good day if we don't spoil it today by allowing yesterday to get in the way. Let me say it again. Tomorrow is a good day if we don't spoil it today by allowing yesterday to get in the way. And I'm saying that to just encourage us to look beyond challenges and errors of the past as we reflect and be present in the moment of now, with an understanding that as we do a good now, we are preparing a better then, better tomorrow. And as fathers, as we look to affirm fatherhood, we're very clear that it's an important and necessary initiative in this time. So welcome once more. Welcome all. Before I do the roll call, I should start by hearing a bit of what is Parenting Partners and what is Affirming Fatherhood. And Janet, are you ready to share with all of us?
Sure. I will even appear briefly. I am really representing Linda Craigie Brown, who is our major domo president, chairperson, but who also has a bad throat. So she didn't want to strain her throat by giving a greeting. I am just saying that Parenting Partners welcomes all of you. This particular project is an initiative of Parenting Partners. And if you don't know Parenting Partners by now, let me just say briefly that we're a group that started in the early 90s by meeting together with organizations to come up with materials that could be culturally relevant and useful for working with parents and supporting parents in Jamaica and the wider region. And that's what we've been doing since that time for over 30 years. So we have run a number of projects regionally and locally, and we have always been attempting to take a positive, strength-based approach.
Yes,
in
Mac.
Getting parents to talk to their strengths, to their skills, and to share them with each other and support each other. So parenting, that's basically it. Parenting Partners, we produce a number of materials which are available, and they help guide us in working with and training facilitators of parent groups around the region. So we're really happy that this project grew out of a concern that we needed to find different ways, more interesting ways, creative ways to link with 50% of our parent population, which are fathers. So this is an initiative that came out of our own discussions and inventions, and we are happy to have you share with us and give your feedback and help us in the direction that we hope Affirming Fatherhood will take us all together. That's it. Back to you, Blacka. Blacka's muted. Oh, there he goes.
Thank you. I don't know if it is my device or the Wi-Fi or yours, Janet, but it froze for a minute there. So, but
Okay.
we got.
Okay, we're okay though.
And as I am moderating, I'm also seeing comments in the chat. People are greeting you. Janet's refreshing. But I'm gonna trust somebody else to monitor the chat while I moderate. And it's very interesting with that word moderate. Eh? I think I want to say I am a fatherator today. Not a moderator.
That's a new word. I like that word, fatherator.
Today I'm the fatherator.
As opposed to moderate.
You know?
That's my job.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Janet. Let's do a quick roll call. I mean, there are 30 of us on the platform, but it's good to let us know here and where from. Particularly those are not in Facebook, but we are beaming from Jamaica for Parenting Partner, Affirming Fatherhood. Let's have a quick shout out to see who's here. So if you could put in the chat where from, where joining us from to be very useful. Shane, Margot, Bishop Apostle Constantine, Kenneth White, Carol Core, Christopher Clark, Claudia Spray, Collective 12, 812, Gerda Wright, Daniel Baptist, Grace Gordon. Who is here and where from? Talk to me. Either unmute or give a shout out or type in the chat where from. Where joining us from. Plenty, please and thanks. O'Shane.
I see O'Shane from Jamaica. O'Shane says Jamaica.
Yes, O'Shane, thank you for that. Who else? Where from?
White, Canute White, out of Miramar, Florida. Jamaican, as you see it, you hear it.
Yes, yes, Canute.
Hi, Mola from Grenada.
Nice.
Greetings from the Spice Island.
Yes.
Hey, welcome.
I see
I
Christopher
love
Clark.
Island.
I see Christopher Clark and Claudia Frey, both from Jamaica.
Okay.
Claudia is from Mobay. Paris is Saint Lucia, not France.
Yeah.
Hi,
Sac
I'm
of
Joyce.
Paris. Well,
Hi, I'm Joyce from Queen City. Yes.
Right.
Hey,
And I'm Grace Gordon from Jamaica.
great. I'm liking this. We have Nevis, St. Lucia, we have Miramar, Florida, we have Grenada, we have all around Jamaica. Dr. Kenneth White, George's old boy from Miramar, Florida. I know Dr. White and Dr. Aggrey Irons can talk about George's. No?
Hello, Canute.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm good.
So great. So we have a nice mix of friends and family here from all around the region. These different these driven dads based out of New York, affiliate program across the Caribbean. Yes, even coach. Thanks for joining. And I like the idea of these driven dads. We want to hear some more about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
We're happy to have you. And I'm like these different dads. I want to talk more about that, please, Coach Lynn.
Yeah, man, we would love that.
Got it. Well, I'll just be brief before you get into your motto. And I believe our team will understand that fatherhood is deeds, not words. That's the motto. You can't talk about fatherhood, show me. So we'll talk a little bit about that today and the work we're looking to support you in.
Great.
Deeds, not words.
Yes,
I'm excited. Woo! I'm excited. This is wonderful.
Love it, love it, love it.
Why are we here? Why are we here? And what do we hope to gain from this? The partners is very involved in production of material, workshop and training to strengthen and support parents. And it's a partnership network regionally. But as we look in parenting, we know that there's a narrative that is very common. We talk about the deadbeat dads and the absent fathers and so on. And we're not trying to deny or challenge that. We're simply saying we want to create a space to evolve a different narrative that celebrates fatherhood, that acknowledges that there are men present, as one Jamaican radio program say, man there, that men are present, and if we believe if we begin to validate, valorize that presence, we create space for more growth in that regard. So one thought really at the title said affirm fatherhood, big up fathers, love upon fathers and just share and talk and strengthen each other as we create a space for celebration, acknowledgement of the role men play in the lives of their families and their children. I love to thank the I got this fun way of sharing it. That very important statistic data study proves that 50% of all parents are men.
Very funny.
Wow, very profound.
That was groundbreaking work, Blacker. Groundbreaking.
Absolutely. I'm like, whoa, I want to read that study. So let's create a space with that can feel welcome, can feel willing, and can be encouraged and empowered to claim their place in the world. That's why we're here. We're gonna start by looking at video and like Coach Lynn said, these words. I want to talk here.
Shane, you want to move your mic, please?
Action. But our talk here will lead to not affirmative words, but affirmative action, affirming action that will make a difference in the lives of our children. So I want to look at this video and then we have easy going to conversation. We're going to talk more about it. So here video, Colleen, we'll watch this brief extract from a movie with Denzel Washington, Fences, and then have a little talk about it.
Can I ask you a question?
Hell, you got to ask me, Mr. Stewicki, the one you got the questions for.
How come you ain't never liked me?
Like you? Who the hell said I got to like you? What law is there say I got to like you? Want to stand up in front of my face and ask a damn fool-ass question like that? Talking about liking somebody. Come here, boy, when I talk to you. Straighten up, goddammit. I asked you a question. What law is there say I got to like you?
None.
All right, then. Don't you eat every day? Answer me when I talk to you. Don't you eat every day?
Yeah.
Nigga, as long as you in my house, you put a sir on the end of it when you talk to me.
Yes, sir.
You eat every day.
Yes, sir.
Got a roof over your head.
Yes, sir.
Got clothes on your back.
Yes, sir.
Why you think that is?
Because of you.
Hell, I know it's because of me. But why do you think that is?
Because you like me?
Like you. I go out of here every morning. I bust my butt putting up with them crackers every day because I like you. You're about the biggest fool I ever saw. It's my job. It's my responsibility. A man is supposed to take care of his family. You live in my house, fill your belly with my food, put your behind on my bed because you're my son. Not because I like you, because it's my duty to take care of you. I owe a responsibility to you. Now let's get this straight right here and now before I go along any further. I ain't got to like you. Mr. Rand don't give me my money come payday because he like me. He give it to me because he owe me. Now I don't give you everything I got to give you. I give you your life. Me and your mama worked that out between us, and liking your black ass wasn't part of the bargain. Now don't you go through life worrying about whether somebody like you or not. You best be making sure they're doing right by you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Then get the hell out of my face and get on down to that A&P.
Wow. So let's just respond with our guts, our intellect. How do you feel? What do you think when you watch that scene? How do you feel? What do you think?
I basically think, it's a thin line between being father and what you think you need to be doing and it's really important to develop this culture of like within the family setting, right? Of like within the father-son, father-child environment, because it's important that you are doing this because, hey, I want to do it. I love to do it. I can embrace my family. I can embrace my children as people who I love, than just see it as a duty to perform. It might be a challenge when you just see it as a duty to perform.
So if I get you right, Kenny, you're saying the like, who want the like?
Yeah, we want the like. We need the like. We must have the like, Blacker.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share a response to the video? What do you feel? What do you think? Yes, Coach Lynn, go ahead.
If I may, and I hope I'm not pulling any feathers, but that's what coaches do.
Ruffle feathers,
So,
go ahead and ruffle.
all of us heard in his language what we call the provider syndrome. I'm the provider. You know, for many of us who grew up in a different generation, our fathers, our grandfathers, we understood that their worth to the family, what they did financially. I put food on the table, I put clothes on your back. All of us who are older, we heard those same things. But because you don't show any love, you don't give any hug, you shed not one tear, you don't come to any of my games, you don't know any of my friends, you don't talk to me as a friend. I understand a father, and I'm a father like many here. And you know, I do the same, I provide, that's no question. As a father, I have to make sure my children are taken care of the best way that I can. However, that is not the only thing I can do. And I'll say this, because so many felt that provider syndrome, when we start not working, when we start being unemployed throughout the community, there goes your worth. The only thing you bring to the family is I provide for you, and you no longer do that financially. You have nothing else to do for the family. So I look forward to more conversation about the provider syndrome and being careful of that. That's your only contribution to the family, is you keep a roof over. And it definitely does not apply now, particularly since so many of our fathers have children in multiple houses. See, that was a scenario, me and your mother, we raised, and you know, that's rare now, very rare. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Anybody that want to share?
Mr. Ellis.
Yes, Doc.
I am going to have a time later on to perhaps expand on this.
Yes.
But every Caribbean man should know when he comes into maturity how to make a dumpling. there is flour, there is water. But if you want to make a special kind of fried dumpling, you need to add a toops of the
Baking powder.
baking powder. Oh, you know. Now, listening to that exchange a while ago, I was looking for the flour and the water because all I was hearing was little toops of baking powder. Because you see, in order to parent as a male, you have to have certain ingredients that you put into the mix. And at the end of it, if you say after me, I see, then I will know that you have gotten it. You need attention. You need to pay attention. And you can't pay attention to someone just because it's your responsibility. It helps if you like them. Then there comes affection, which is genuine, not necessarily hugs, but hugs help, but the attitude of affection. So there's attention, affection, another ingredient called approval. In a father-son relationship, knows that you approve of what they do and you give them some kind of warm response, which shows that they're on the right track. Then there, from time to time, it's important to ask them what they think and what they like and how they feel about certain things. And you must ask regularly, how does that make you feel? And then there is control, in other words, self-control. So it's 3 A's, an I, and a C, to which you may respond like I see. Attention, affection, approval, inclusion, and self-control. And those lessons have to be part of every father's ingredient once he takes fathering seriously.
I see. And
I knew I would get you to say, I see.
I see. Colleen, you want to share with us what's in the chat?
Yeah, in the chat, Blacker, let me just do that. We have Fabian Sargent. He's saying that there was a serious emotional disconnect between father and son. And he also goes on to say that contemporary parenting must break those cycles.
Hallelujah.
And further, Coach Lynn, I'm not going to read all of what he said, strength and unconditional love, while Christopher Clark also added Stephen, I love nurturing masculinity. Sorry, and Fabian is from Barbados. So welcome, Fabian from Barbados.
So I want to if anybody, I would love to hear from one of the women, a response from one of the women, certainly, the dynamics, if you have a response to that scene, how you feel, how you think. One of the sisters want to talk up. Great, Margot Joyce.
Okay, when I looked at it, I saw the father figure being dominant. Yes, he's trying to let the son know that I am the breadwinner here. I'm working for you. But at the end of the day, the son still did not feel a connection of love. He did not still come out explicitly and say, I love you, or I like you. And so, you know, even though he's providing for the child and the family, there's still the need to, it is often noted that men tend not to show their emotions as much as women. And so they're getting that emotional disconnect between himself and the child. And so the child will now grow up with that same mentality of not overtly expressing his love and or actually saying, I love you. Verbalizing the I love you means a lot, and that was
Yeah.
But more you listen, more
Anybody else?
Yes, just to say quickly, Grace Gordon here, just saying, I agree with everything that
Christopher, somebody mic is
mute.
All right. Can you Christopher? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Sister Grace.
Right. So I'm saying, and I guess I'm a female responding. I agree with everything that Joyce said, and I'm just adding, and maybe this is the female in me responding, but it felt like the way he did it, and it's interesting because I've seen this movie before, but it just hit me almost like somebody stabbing you, hitting at you. So the way it was done to the relationship.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
So are we, let me ask you another way. Are we or how do we respond to the message that we see coming out here in terms of what is being said about anger and emotion and this disconnection and the need on the part of the child for to be valued and loved, to be liked, to be loved, and the father insistent that I don't have to do that. I'm doing my work. How does that make us? Are we okay with that as a message? As we affirm fatherhood? You can't talk to that, Joseph.
Yeah. So the whole my thought along this line is specifically with regards to that. I'm not sure of what his screen name was in this movie, but Denzel in the hair. Were his actions affirming fatherhood, or which of his actions? He mentioned that I have a responsibility to you as your father. I don't have to like you. But the question itself from the son was a loaded question. How come you don't like me?
Yeah.
So to the son, the only way you can affirm your fatherhood is by liking me, by showing that emotion of love. And how are you going to show that emotion? So, and you could see the tension and the fear, and I don't know if anger is also another term I could use when the question was asked, you know? So, so what I also want to ask and throw out there is, and this is for both men and women, both mothers and fathers, as we want to share or increase the value of fathering, is that how we are going to, how do we affirm fatherhood? As a nation now, not as an individual father, but as a nation, as a new father, and I don't know how to express my emotion to my unborn child or my newborn or my 18-year-old child. How do I do that? Is this an example of the affirmation of fatherhood?
And if I may add to that, Joseph, what is he teaching his son about being a man? And also, is that an approach to fathering when at the relates to fathering boys? Would you respond the same way to a daughter who say, why don't you like me? So there's all of that in there.
Right. So Joyce says the response of the father was also, to me, placing guilt on the child in some ways. I'm going to work because of you. Not because I want to work, not because I have ambition, but because of you. You know, that's interesting.
Two things though. I watching that, two things came to mind. The emotion, the underlying emotion of the father, the whole thing about being angry at the time and what was said. And a lot of times when we talk to our children, we have that anger, that underlying emotion that might create a challenge in how we respond. But my thing also is that how the child define like. What is like to the child? Because really I might be affirming my fatherhood through, you know, showing like, so to speak, but the child doesn't see that as being defined as like. So that need to be corrected.
I think Stephen, the coach, also he answered that in the chat by saying that the archaic thought that fathers should not show any affection or love to their children for generations has been a contributing factor to where we are now with fatherless homes across the Caribbean.
Yes.
He goes on, this young man only asks for his love, not food, clothes, or any other material things, just love.
Yeah.
But like, you know, Joseph, this thing about love, in my mind, is not about the physical connection, hugging the boy or so. You know, daddy hugging the boy, and that's fine, right? And I mean, a lot of people might not agree with that. Some boys will tell their father, no, I don't want you to hug me, based on the whole cultural thing. But my thing, though, is that it's also how you respond in terms of, you know, what you give, what you do, right? Or you listen to the child. I think that's also a way of affirming fatherhood and what like is.
Yeah. I see, and Coach Lynn.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Once again, deeds, not words. The young man only asked for him to say the words, "Why don't you like me?" All his father had to say was, "Son, I love you. I do like you. You're my everything. All the things that I do are for you. I go to work every day. I bust my butt. I have to put up with Mr. Charlie, all those things." But because he didn't want to utter those words, it was like he had to give an arm before I tell you, my son. So the son is confused. On one hand, you're telling me, you're making me seem like, oh, you do all these things for me, but I ask you this one simple thing. I didn't ask you for those things. I didn't ask you to bring me into this world. I did not. Yet I ask you, and it seems like he was at a point with my dad, I need to hear this from you. I need to hear this from my father, who I look up to, and you can't even do that for me. So everything gets distorted after that. And it's so funny because if I would have closed my eyes, I would have heard my father telling me the same thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and Margot is saying the child was simply asking for validation.
Yeah, just you like me. That's all he asked.
Yeah. But we know that fathers care. And Fabian is saying oftentimes with issues originating or the father was himself parented and the childhood trauma, indeed. But we know that fathers care, and that's why we are here to share the idea that fathers do care and how can we operationalize this care that fathers bring to the family. And that's why we're having this convo. There are a number of us who are in listening. Please feel free to use the raise hand feature or simply unmute and share your view. We're having a very engaging conversation here, and we hear from some people.
Good news is that I missed it.
Yes, Hillary. But I think, are you sharing?
Her mute, she's on mute.
Okay, I think we're all on mute, but now I'm not unmuted. Yeah, it's not cute when we get mute. So yes, so just to I'm hearing we're all saying yes, the father is saying I do all these things, but we're still saying as kind of say we want the like. The children want the like. And we as fathers want the like from them, we want to give them the like. We want to show our children that we care. We want to show our families that we care. We want to show society that we are fathers who are standing up, who are in the house, in the children's lives, and we do care. And that's why we are here. How do we care though? And we have some tools that we can draw on. So that's why we want to hear from our esteemed guest, our main speaker, Dr. Aggrey Irons, who is with a global reputation as one of the Caribbean's leading psychiatrists. I mean, sports medicine, I mean, motivational work, training, past president of the Jamaica Medical Association. I mean, was SMO of the largest, Caribbean's largest mental institution, Bellevue, for 21 years. He's been very pivotal in transforming that place into an efficient clinical unit. He's also, into sports. You didn't know that, eh? Yes. And he's a consultant with the practice in the areas of adult psychiatry, childhood and adolescent psychiatry, sports medicine, and much, much more. Dr. Aggrey Irons, please take charge and give us your charge as we look at this whole idea of father's care. And I'm seeing a quick comment here from Joyce. This father did care. Oh, I missed the rest of it. Let me just go back to what Joyce was saying before we invite Dr. Aggrey Irons, who also was a mean musician, but a band called 50/50. Here with us.
Yes, Brother Ellis.
Yes, Doc. Take over.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone who is participating in this webinar, but particularly the men, because all of us, and I underline all of us, have suffered as Caribbean men from the generational inability of men to show their warmer emotions. One of the elephants in the room is the fact that one of the principal guidelines of our being fathered is us being told at some time that real men don't cry. And that was a blanket statement about our emotional disability and the sharing and the teaching really of generations of Caribbean men that if you display emotion, it is not a strength, it is a weakness. And we now have to spend time and energy changing that and allowing our men to see that not only as parents or fathers, but just simply as male citizens, they have to take over the fact that every child is my child, even if I have not been biologically responsible. And I have to teach everyone I meet how to transmit positive emotions rather than negative emotions. Because you see, it is our misinterpretation of manliness that has allowed Caribbean men, many of whom are resident in Jamaica, to turn to negative social actions, etc. And in particular, I appreciate what Canute and Coach Lynn are saying, because we're preaching from the same playbook, actually, and we need to just refine our thoughts and ideas based, of course, on evidence, as Blacker would insist, evidence that is backed up by research, so that our Caribbean men can move forward. Now, I'm going to speak for the next 5, maybe 8 minutes, and what I'm about to say is a reflection or a conglomeration of various studies that have to do with male parenting. In order to make it easier to remember, I want you to just reflect that just like on Sesame Street, these following 5 minutes are brought to you by the letters F and M, which happen to be 6 and 13 in our alphabet. F and M, 2 dangerous letters. F, of course, is for father. Don't know where you were going, gentlemen, but father and female start, unfortunately or fortunately, with the same figures. It's just unfortunate that many of our females in our society end up being the fathers or father figures rather than the males, the M group, who also should be able to substitute as mother figures, but they don't have the ability to do that because of what we have been taught, generating, as we all know, from the days of slavery. At this point, if we were doing a musical presentation, I know what Blacker would be singing. That was the time when we, as Caribbean men, were disconnected from the Caribbean family, and it has taken us generations to learn to reconnect and to feel like we deserve to be a part of something that is wholesome and that's something that is going to save the Caribbean from falling into the rut that it has. And I see the beginnings, and I see where our little group is not just going to present the world with better fathers, but maybe one day they'll see us for what we really are, and that is true. Also, too, we have the ability as men to not just express our emotional self, but to control those emotions so that we can teach our boys, as I've said before, self-control, which is an important ingredient of the things that make up human beings: attention, affection, approval, inclusion, self-control. Also, too, it would help if we as Caribbean men could transmit to our male parents the fact that it is not just sons that are going to model their behavior, but their daughters as well should have an equal share in their emotional transmission and should be able to reflect positively, as many women do, but not enough, that when I choose a mate, I am going to be so impressed by how my father treated me and how my father treated my mother, that I am going to choose a mate that is just like him. More often than not, many of our women end up saying the opposite. I don't ever want to have anything to do with any man who used to behave like my father. And being caught in this trap, it is very, very difficult for the Caribbean woman to find a suitable Caribbean man with whom to have the perfect Caribbean family. And that is our dilemma. Mothers and fathers, the M's and F's of family, don't know how to speak to each other, and we don't know what to do with our children and when to do it. Just a couple before we go back to the group, but one of the first building blocks of any human being is developing a sense of trust. And a father, by his very absence from the family structure, is teaching his children, boys and girls, how to mistrust. Then there is the whole business of autonomy, which I won't get into now, but I'll skip to the whole development of a sense of industry versus a sense of inferiority. If we want our children to be industrious and not to continue feeling inferior to other children, if we want our children to have the proper sense of identity instead of role confusion. If we want our children to have the proper sense of intimacy versus isolation, we have to let our parents know that these are consecutive goals of parenting, moving from one to the other seamlessly until we create a child who is generative, who can work and who has self-esteem and who can teach those lessons to the subsequent generation. So let us try and get the framework together, pass it on, and remember that emotions are the glue that hold family together. With that, I go back to our chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Irons. The F and the M, and the balancing between the F and the M. And you mentioned the elephant in the room, Dr. Irons, but
one of the elephants.
One of the elephants. I want to kick off the Q&A by asking you to say a bit more about that elephant. They say, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. If you get the first bite into that elephant, you mentioned earlier when we responded to the film, this is the actor from the film, that there are things preventing men from showing their real deep care for their children, especially for their boys. And you want to talk a bit more about that elephant?
Yes, of course. That elephant has to do with the fear of being judged non-male when you're a male, and the fear of being judged to be homosexual, and the whole problem with men being told from birth that men don't hug, men don't cry, men don't show emotion. So when men need to cry, when men need to show emotions, they internalize those emotions and manifest those emotions in anger and frustration. And of course, there is no greater display of anger and frustration than the frequent stabbings and killings and the negative behavior that we have been getting accustomed to all throughout our Caribbean, but particularly in Jamaica, which has earned a reputation for frustration and anger.
Thank you. I invite other comments and questions for Dr. Irons.
Dr. Irons, I hear you talk about the whole thing, the Erickson theory thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, but guess what happened now? I am looking at it as it relates to the disagreement between parents, right? As it relates to ensuring that this sort of trust versus mistrusting and the whole fixation thing, the Erickson theory thing, materialize. Because if there's a push and pull between the mother and the father, then there's going to be a challenge. How do we deal with this sort of push and pull in order to ensure that our children, our child grow up as it relates to even the Erickson psychosocial?
By using the fact that you and I agree on because of where we are, and that is the importance of education. We have to continue to teach parenting in the same way that when you have a prenatal clinic, you have to go there because you're pregnant and you have to have your hemoglobin checked and so on. Those 50% of parents who are fathers should also be attending a prenatal clinic, but one in which they learn these things, because the Ericksonian model that we are speaking about is a very, very simple model, and it's a very real model. And those of us who, have a little training in psychology, we know that it is relevant to the psychosocial development of a healthy person, that they do learn how to trust. and that the opposite will be generated, especially if there is conflict between the parents. In fact, there is a rule that is taught in parenting classes that the disagreements that parents have, they should try and minimize the obviousness to the children, because they have to resolve those differences and come to the children with a united front. And if they don't do that, just like what happens in so many homes, they're going to be severely manipulated by the smart children that we have generated. So we have to, one, learn how to parent in the appropriate environment. And two, we have to prevent our children from gaining the tools for manipulating parents.
Thank you. I want to invite the gathering, there are 34 of us here, to reflect on not only the video, but on what Dr. Irons say, and ask questions directly of Dr. Irons or of the rest of us. Let's have an open conversation now. Please feel free. I will just call you by name: Albert, Alan, Andre, Canute, Carl, hello, Charlene, Christopher, Clark and Scott, Claudia Frey, Desmond Ellis, hello, my brother, Gerda Wright, Grace Gordon. Please feel free to open up and talk. I'm seeing comments in the chat. Joyce said, great perspective, Dr. Irons. I thought, besides that, oh, I miss it. My device don't keep the chat up too long. So can somebody help me there? Go there for Colleen and read what that last comment in the chat said. Yes, Joyce said, great perspective, Dr. Irons. That's thought. Besides that, how to become parent forms, what about school curriculum, like health and family life education? Yes. How to become a parent should be at school, to be on the school curriculum. At what age though? At the primary level? At the high school level?
I hope Canute can remember that we got those lessons when we were in third form. I hope they continued after I had left. Maybe Canute can tell us about his lessons.
Yes, Doc. I left 84. You know, so I'm a young Georgian, so to speak.
Yes, I left in 67.
Okay, just a year before my birthday. Right? So
and we used to have those classes in third form every Wednesday afternoon, and it was something that we used to look forward to.
Right, we still have that over time. Yeah, so we you know, we still have that.
Joyce is saying here we should offer parenting training as part of the curriculum in school. Training how to be parents. Are we okay with that? Our children learning about how to be a mother.
You have to be careful with that, Blacker, because here what happened. In my view, I believe that it also depends on what level of the school system, right? That's critical. I note that I was in education back in Jamaica as Dean of Discipline and so on. And I dabble in education here as well. And the teaching parenting might open up a larger can of worm, you know, that you have to be careful about. So it depends on at what level, right? I think that the 10th grade, I'm not sure who asked that, Blacker, but the 10th grade would probably be fine, but not earlier than that.
Definitely, because at the 10th grade, there are 3 objectives, if you can reflect, that have to do with the formation of identity and the whole realization of identity in the late teens, who you are, where you're going. And all of that has to be resolved before you can start to deal with intimacy, which is what would lead you to have to learn about proper parenting and so on. So it would be in the later teens, that the parenting information would be appropriate, but it should also be in time and in tune with the sexual development and the whole sexual capability of the males and females of the time. Because once a young girl starts to establish her menstrual cycle, young boys should be taught what that is all about, even though they don't have a cycle, if you see what I mean.
Right.
But they have sisters and they will one day have daughters.
Thank you. I see a comment from Claudia Frey. I see a comment from Stephen, Coach Lynn. I see.
Hey, hello, how are you?
I want to invite one of the partners.
Janet, mute.
Janet, mute, please, Janet. Joseph or Colleen, can you just read some of those comments, please?
Sure. No problem.
Joseph,
Mute, Janet.
What's that?
Janet, mute.
I'll try and mute her.
Okay.
Right. So in the comment we have Joyce says, great perspective, Dr. Irons. I thought maybe it's time that how to become parents forms part of the school's curriculum, similar to HFLE, which is health and family life education. Let me add, and of course, Coach Lynn adds we have a father. He says he has a father curriculum and he's ready to use that. Actually, used in the Caribbean on training and raising children. Yeah. We also see Claudia Frey saying that I agree with the information presented by Dr. Irons. The issue I believe most men in our society face is that most men are portrayed as weak from female species when too many emotions are displayed. But it's not limited to the female species. You're in high schools, we know most boys in high school will not show too much emotion because they're going to lose ratings according to them bridging them. They're going to lose some man's stride because they're too emotional, you know? So yeah. And Paris, absolutely on point. What am I doing here? Says absolutely on point, Dr. Irons. It would also
that's Paris from Antigua.
Paris from St. Lucia, I believe.
Oh, St. Lucia, okay.
Right. It would also highlight the cautions needed and value of family life prior to the onset of intimacy. That's an excellent point. So you want to pause there before we get more.
Yes, I want to hear some more from the people in the room now. I want to hear some voices. And of course, we want to hear some more about Coach Lynn's parenting fatherhood curriculum. I have some talk with him outside this forum to access those ideas and those resources. But also, I want to welcome comments from. I want to hear more from, although it's affirming, because men have to affirm fatherhood. It's our sisters too, our mothers and sisters and wives and daughters and
exactly, Blacker. This is why we do want to affirm men as fathers. There's no father without the mother and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And so the women play a very critical role in affirming fatherhood. And I might add that there is space on the podium, on the best parent podium, if I might say, for the father as well, you know. And so it is critical that as women also share how they can or how they should affirm fatherhood, because as much as men are central to the position that fathers are in now, or the lack of value that are placed on fathers right now, women also have a role to play in that, and therefore to flip the switch, so to speak.
Joseph?
Yeah.
I can't find my raise hand thing, so I'm just jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
I latched on to the last thing that Dr. Ann said. Emotions are the glue that hold the family together. And what I feel sometimes is that, and I think you spoke about it a little earlier, you know, that you might have a young father with a baby on the way, or a newborn, or a 5-year-old, or an 8, or a 12, or an 18. And they might know intellectually in their head and in their minds that emotions are going to be, you know, be the glue to hold, but they don't know what to actually do. Somebody said, you know, it's not always about hugging, you know, but what are the other ways, you know, you show affection to your 2-year-old, and let him or her know that you care and that you're there, even if you don't live in the same household, for argument's sake. So I don't know if Dr. Irons or Coach or anybody else would like to speak to that, or Blacker. But just in terms of, you know, what do you actually do? And what do some of the fathers who are on this call actually do to show their children their love and care and so on?
In order to deal with a 2-year-old and upward, first of all, the father has to be present. You can't do it by being absent. Then you have to, as you teach them how to speak, you teach them how not to shout. You teach them how to listen, and you teach them how to communicate with a smile. Now, all of this is done by modeling. Everything that you want a child to do, you have to be able to model. And if you can model it successfully, the child will imitate that behavior. One of the most delightful things my 2 sons have ever told me is that they cannot ever remember my raising my voice. They want to know if I only have 1 tone and 1 volume. But it is by design. You have to teach each generation that it is cool being cool. You don't have to be excessive in one way or in another way. And you have to model that behavior. Children learn best by modeling and least by being told what to do.
Okay, thanks. And I guess that's what Coach's deeds are as well. Thank you.
Right. Black, I see some hands up. You want to put the hands?
Yes, Coach Lynn, I see your hand.
Okay, hi, Joyce here again. And maybe this might be my last verbal contribution tonight, I'm not certain. Anyway, I'm here thinking that in order for fathers and or males to be affirmed, it has to start with the mothers, you know, in the household. And many times fathers are not affirmed because of what we as mothers tell our boys. Your father not good. Your father not good. That is what we are saying all the time. So as the child grows, he has this negative image of male. So how would he become positive when he now becomes a father? And then on the other hand, when the relationship is broken, you know, the father is gonna, when the child has time with the father is like, your mother one wicked person. And so the child is in the middle of a conundrum, who right, who wrong. So when he grows up, because we understand that most of the things that we are now relaying are things we would have learned that was stored, have been stored in our long-term memory. So when the child becomes an adult and becomes a parent, the things that are most likely to come back to him are the negative aspects of things. So how can he be affirmed as becoming a good father when all I was hearing, oh, the man and them not good, all of the fathers are not good, and yet we as women have like 6 children by them same no good men. So we know going up 6 no good boys. I'm just, you know, thinking out loud here.
Thank you for that, Joyce. And I like your, not like, but what connects with me is your thing that the women affirm the fathers in the children's life based on what they say to the children about their father.
Chairman, might I remind you too, we love to hear from Coach Lynn, not because he's in the US, but because he speaks so nicely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's by design, Doc, just like you.
Yeah, quite.
I just want to say first, Doc, thank you so much. That was incredible. You were on point. You played a fantastic game on that one. We have to be intentional. This hole that we've dug ourselves into with fathers not being there for their children, not understanding how to do it, we cannot just continue to talk about it. It will not just materialize organically. We have to be focused on as we said before, training them. Many fathers now, we're in the second generation of families where the father was not in the household on a regular basis. That's just data. That's just real. So in order for us to turn that back in our favor, we have to, and this is what we've done over the many years, worked with the curriculum and the fatherhood training, where we're specifically training them on the day-to-day operations, deeds, not words. Particularly those fathers, as the young lady was just speaking of, who is the black sheep of the family. He has not really been there. A lot of the comments that are made about him are warranted. It is what it is. However, how does he make that connection back with his children? How does he get back in the fold? Through his deeds. They don't know how to do that because they don't have anybody to emulate. As Doc said, it's critical. You can't tell somebody to speak Chinese if they never spoke it or they never went to China. How would they know? Same thing with fatherhood. We don't assume that you know what you're doing. So we have to be intentional with our fatherhood trainings, and I call them trainings because all of us know practice makes what? Perfect.
Perfect.
Same thing with
permanent.
Practice makes perfect. Same thing here. Last but not least, I want to say we have kind of a 5-step in what I call coach's keys. And this is what we promote to our fathers, and they do not veer from it. Fathers have to have enormous amount of faith. It will not be an easy road. Nobody said that. You have to have sacrifice like you've never sacrificed before. Sacrifice all things for your children. Patience, Doc mentioned that earlier, that calm voice comes with patience. Commitment, fatherhood is commitment. This is not until your children become 18 or your daughter gets married. You are a father for life if you do it right. And last but not least, unconditional love. Those are our 5 keys: faith, sacrifice, patience, commitment, and unconditional love. This is what we promote in the fatherhood trainings. And we're so excited. We can't wait to come to Jamaica. We've been doing it all throughout the Caribbean, Antigua, Barbuda, we just left St. Lucia. We're going to St. Vincent's, Bahamas, and it's worked every time when we turn those keys. Those keys. So we're excited.
Let's hear from Alan and then Christopher. Alan and then Christopher.
All right. Thanks a lot. I joined in at the latter part when the presentation was going on, and I heard the section about the emotions being the glue that keeps the family together, right? And I wanted to ask a specific question about that. Why do you believe that that is so? And my second question would be geared towards, you mentioned that fathers would need to actually demonstrate certain qualities to cultivate within the child, right? But oftentimes, based on just observation, what I've observed is that one, fathers are not there for whatever reason, whether it is be financial, they have to be working extra hours to earn a bread, and so therefore they are unable to be there. And secondly, when they're there, there is a toxic relationship that is going on between the man and the woman that will make it very difficult for that to happen. So what can be done about that situation?
You want to?
Would you like me to?
Yes, Doc. Yes, please, Dr. Irons. I think Doc is frozen, or it is just on my side, but I'm not hearing anything from Dr. Irons.
I'm not seeing him online either.
You're not hearing me.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, now, Doc.
Hearing you now.
Okay. I was saying that this conundrum has been passed from generation to generation for many decades. And it is bad parents bringing children into the world who then become bad parents, and the beat goes on. But let me answer the part about emotions bringing the family together. I am sure that people have noticed by now that man enjoys being in a group. Solitary activity causes men to become ill. when you see a group of party goers going crazy, it is because we identify with herd behavior. We feel a release when we're with other men and women who are displaying similar emotions. Now, if we are to accept that the family is the basis of society, if we are to accept that families come together to make communities and communities come together to make nations, then we have to find out what it is that keeps people in family. What people search for outside of family is a way to express their emotions. The family should supply that ability to say how you feel. And one of the ways, or the conglomeration of ways in which that is applied is through paying attention to each other. We have to be interested in what people are saying and doing, with how people look, and then we give them attention, affection, approval. We have mentioned this before. One of the most important parts of that emotional glue is called inclusion. We need to feel like we're a part of something bigger and better than ourselves, but we have to be a part of it and made to feel this way by being asked how we feel and being given an opportunity to say and show how we feel. And then underlying all of that in the emotional glue is the learning of self-control. You can't respond to everything with a bad word. That's one part of it. And the toxic part of the relationship between men and women has to be healed by men realizing that they will have daughters and realizing that the wonderful feelings that they've generated for their mother, because their mother may never have left them as early as their father, must be transmitted to every woman. You have to treat every woman the way you would treat your mother if you got a chance to treat your mother positively. The unfortunate thing is that many women has to stop. I don't.
Thank you, Doc. Let me hear from Christopher Clark and then Desmond Ellis. Christopher and then Desmond.
Thanks, Blacker. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking my comments. I want to go back to, because I'm an educator and I've worked in the public school system for such a long time. I want to go back to the question of the parenting in the curriculum, and I'm not so sure that that is the best place or the only place it ought to be. I think we let groups such as churches off the hook when we don't use those platforms to help to teach parenting. But for me, and I want your response to this, more fundamental to this matter of parenting is helping, and I'm focusing on the boys, is helping our boys and our young men to understand what responsible masculinity looks like. And if effectively we are teaching them, okay, we have to break this cycle, ladies and gentlemen, how to go counterculture, how to, because, you know, I have a 24-year-old and he looks up to me like crazy. And Doc Irons spoke about modeling, and I try to model so much so that I have to be so circumspect when I'm around him, because what I am teaching him is not what he's seeing out there. Oftentimes, is not what he's getting through social media. It's not what he's getting on YouTube. It's not what he's getting through the DJs. And so I am asking, how do we get that question, that issue dealt with of responsible masculinity. Coach spoke about nurturing masculinity, and that may come a little later, but let's start out with, what does it mean to be a real man? And get in touch with even your emotions. Dr. Irons?
Okay, one of the best places to teach parenting is also, as you know, at parent teachers meetings, but the parents who need to get those lessons don't come to the meetings. Another one of the best places to get parenting lessons is on the football field after the game from the coach, who hopefully is a model of what a man should be.
Absolutely.
One of the best places to get parenting lessons, yes, of course, is once a week in church, but the people who need those lessons don't go to church. The fact is that parenting lessons have to be taught at every opportunity, and that we should big up, as we like to say, our men who are model parents. The fact is that you can't be a model parent if you have 6 baby mothers. That's not the model we want to generate. You know, so we must get serious about using every opportunity. And I am glad to hear you say your 20-odd-year-old son loves you like crazy and models you, but you must have done something consistently to generate that. And one of the first things that you did was to be present. Dad, here I am.
Absolutely.
Done.
Done.
You're not done. You never come. Desmond. Desmond.
Blessings. I hope everyone can hear me.
Hearing you clearly, Desmond. Go ahead.
All right. So I joined in a little bit late, but nonetheless, I say I'm never too late for the mercy of God. And with the words that Dr. Irons have shared so far and the comments made by other participants in the chat, I wholeheartedly agree upon every single one. But my concern is this. Doc mentioned that at a certain stage in a child's life, whether it be a boy or a girl, there are 3 factors that affects that young child's personality. Doc, I'm not sure, but maybe you're referring to the ID or the id, then the ego and the superego. So it
well, that is one construct that was made by Freud, but I wasn't mentioning him yet because it tends to confuse the issues. But the model I like to stick to is what we call the Ericksonian model by a guy called Erik Erikson, who just looked at his own life and put it out plainly so that we could understand the various stages that people go through in their personality development. And I'll say it quickly: trust, autonomy, initiative, industry, identity, intimacy, and generativity.
And with what you're saying now, Doc, it leads me, it all leads in one direction: love. So here we have a man and a woman coming together, and they decide that they're going to be together, become intimate, and 9 months down the line, we have a child coming into the world, right? This child comes into the world now, seeing both mother and father together, which is great. Mommy and daddy are together. So I go to school, I come home, I see both mother and father. But yet, there's an absence of love. Whether it be that the father is too caught up in work, or whether it is that the father doesn't get along with the mother, there is this divide, and we realize that there's no love. And I heard it being echoed by, I think the person who spoke before me was Christopher Clark. And the other persons who commented as well after you finished, Dr. Irons, all about love. So here we are now with a room full of about 30-something participants, some ladies. How do we get more persons involved? How we get them to understand the love of everything? Here we are in a country that is being divided by high economic costs. It's being divided by political affiliation. It is being divided by a myriad.
Religion.
True.
The biggest division that is going on now.
It is being divided by religion. So how do we now go out and impact at least 1 or 2 other minds who are like-minded like us for us to change this culture? Because Dr. Irons, you said it, for decades, households, mother and father, spread the bad genes, right? The bad aspect of parenting for decades, and it's continuing. So in layman terms, how do we now break this generational curse that seems to be affecting us in the 21st century and going onwards? I mean, from my teens, I could remember hearing about Vision 2030 for Jamaica, and the one sentimental part of that vision is making Jamaica the place for families to grow. How do we affect that? It's now 2022.
Right. Now remember that love is the primary emotion, you know, and when I talk about the glue that brings families together, love is the essential part of that glue. Now, I must add that love, and this is our basic English training, love is a noun, but love is even more so a verb. It's a doing word. And as Coach had said so beautifully, by his deed shall a man and also a woman be known. Loving is giving. Loving is kindness. And those who are separated by denomination and not necessarily religion will know that love don't keep record of wrongs. Love is forgiving.
Hallelujah.
You learn about love in so many ways and so many places and so many stages. And love must be manifested by modeling. We have to love one another and let others know us by our love. And the Christians can't talk through two sides of their mouth when it comes to love. Wow. They will know we are Christian by our love.
Listen, me,
it's all about love.
I have to jump in. We are 9 minutes away from our schedule end at 7 Jamaica time. We have to create some additional time. I'm hearing a lot of interest. I'm seeing also in the chat where we have seen we have seen Coaches Key to Fatherhood in the chat. Desmond's podcast, Can Youth YouTube channel, Can Youth. I want to just look at those and grab them, and also to keep hearing from each other and learning from each other. Coaches Key to Fatherhood, Desmond's podcast, and Can Youth YouTube channel, Can Youth. And but also a link there, nurturingfathers.com from Coach. We really, I wanted to look at another video and then we're gonna summarize and wrap. But I really wanted to think beyond the prescriptions that we get so well from Dr. Irons and the motivational talks from Coach. The rest of us, what are our experiences and observations as fathers and the people who have been fathered? What have we, how do we testify? And if not testify, prophesy. How do we
exemplify?
And exemplify, you know?
Good word.
And importantly, what can we do? What will we do? And, you know, so I really want to ensure that we end the sermon with an altar call or in the Convo with a call to action. What can we do together, individually, collectively? What, I mean, how can we share from each other resources, ideas, tools, techniques, principles that will redound to benefit for our families, our children, as we affirm fatherhood? Colleen, you want to jump in and show us that other video? I don't mind leaving a couple of things hanging. It means that we can continue to Convo as in our mind. And
we do have a lot, and particularly we have Coach Lynn and Canute who have joined, and
based on what you're saying, they already have spaces through which we can occupy at some point in time, or also collaborate with. So we do have places to go, so to speak.
Yes, and if we want to encourage, if we put the email address in the chat, Linda, Colleen, or Janet, and invite Coach and Canute and Desmond to share links to their network, so we can also join with you and share, so that we begin a wider network of sharing that will help us to really strengthen our initiative to affirm fatherhood. So please.
SB is asking how she can access today's meeting. I think she wasn't able to. Right, the recording. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try and put this video on now and make sure I do it right now.
And put the email address in, Carly, for folks who want to contact parenting partners for more info.
Okay.
Video and so on.
All right. Please tell me if you're seeing anything.
Not seeing anything just yet.
All right, hang on.
So while Colleen is doing that, we all have a responsibility, and Blacker, and so the purpose of this next one, I don't want to give away anything at all, but let's think about how we go about the role we play, even if, well, everybody. Sorry, go ahead, Colleen.
And also, this is our third of the series of Affirming Fatherhood. We have one coming up sometime in August, hopefully. So please stay tuned, bring more people in, and let's widen the conversation.
And we also want to start targeting schools, communities, and going out face to face at some point in time. So wherever we can go, we will go.
And Joyce saying more conference needed. Look for in the chat. Linda has posted the email address for parenting partners. Please contact us. Let's keep talking. Let's watch the video now and talk some more about it afterwards. Play.
Volume.
You want to rewind and start, Linda? We're not hearing. Still no audio.
You're not hearing it?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, here we go. I need to put that on.
I'm not a virgin anymore.
I'm glad to hear that. How you doing, sir?
I'm great, sir.
Good, good, good. Very good to see you. So?
I took your advice. I found my family and I found my mother.
Good.
Yeah.
So?
Oh, in my heart, I forgive her. But if I never saw her again.
I understand.
It's funny to feel that way about your mother. But I did. And I owe it to you to tell you that you were right.
You owe it to me?
Yes, sir. I needed to find her.
I was right. Those were all the wrong reasons.
Sir?
It stays between you and me, okay?
Yes, sir.
My wife and I, we were gonna have a bunch of kids and we found out we couldn't have any. And it rocked her to the core. I knew what to do for her, though. She needed help, treatment. I made sure she had it. The best psychiatrist, the one that trained me. But I, the well one, the strong one, at the same time, I went about the business of shutting down. Very subtle, very quiet. It was my little secret. Until one day, a young man came into my office and into my life, and he blew up that little secret right in my face, and he put me to shame in a way I never thought possible. Because of you, Antoine, I'm a better doctor, and I'm learning to be a better husband. You don't owe me anything. I owe you. You're the champ, son. You've beaten everybody who was beating you. I salute you. You hungry, Sal?
I could eat, sir.
Let's go.
You know, we began with a video where a child asked his father, how come you don't like me? The father asserts how much work he's doing to be a father who provides, and the child just want, as we say, some like. And we end there with a video, that, we also see the emotions trying to come to the fore. And Dr. Aggrey Irons left us with a very wonderful gem, emotional glue that holds the family together. And he also mentioned herd behavior and the need to feel validated by a broader grouping, family, society. How do we respond to this video now, as we wrap this session of our third in a series of affirming fatherhood and look towards doing more? Any closing comments? I want to hear from everybody else who we haven't heard from yet, and then I want to hear a closing comment from Dr. Aggrey Irons. Don't all scream all at once.
So Blacker, in the chat, we have Jason says words of affirmation. That's just pretty much what he's saying. Words of affirmation.
And something that Dr. Irons also said in terms of your body, your smile, and you saw that come across even just in this last one. I mean, it's not a father and son, but it's, they're caring for each other. And his manner, his demeanor, his again, the words of affirmation, well done, and glad to hear it, and smiling and looking at him in his face, I think was so very positive.
That connection, there's an obvious connection there.
Yeah.
And
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a feeling of, I guess, it is safe to express your emotions, kind of feeling that was obvious on both faces, because of that connection.
What struck me a lot from this conversation is the focus on the need to look at relationships. We look at man-woman relationships within the family. That's often where things break down and become confusing. And there were some important messages, I think, about relationships in there.
Thank you, Janet. Claudia Frey says, if the message is spread across the Caribbean, we believe that in time and with a lot of faith, I'm not seeing the rest of it.
We have a better caliber of fathers.
Caliber of fathers.
Absolutely. I concur. I want to remind us that there are resources and there are platforms that others have shared, coaches, curriculum, Desmond's podcast, and Kenyu's YouTube channel. And we also want to continue this conversation here at Parenting Partners Caribbean with affirming fatherhood. But I want to ask us as we wind down and wrap up and plan to move away from each other, each of us as men, as fathers, and as women who work with men and fathers, what can we do individually in our own family settings and in our groups, and that can help to really move forward the agenda of affirming fatherhood? What can we do next week, this weekend, tomorrow? What can we do in a very tangible way, begin to operationalize and practice affirming fatherhood? And what can we do as a larger group together, sharing ideas and thinking in a proper men's fatherhood conference that we can get a range of speakers and have Coach and Dr. Irons and Desmond and Alan and Albert and Rashane and Canute share.
Don't leave out Canute.
And Canute, certainly,
All right, Doc.
So I want to urge us to look at how we can keep the connection going. We have the email address of Parenting for Partners. Please reach out, connect with us. Let's talk some more. Let's do some more. And I want to invite you, Dr. Irons, to just share in the closing comments as you have listened and talked with us. You want to leave us with. You already give us a wonderful gem that I'm holding on to. Emotions are the glue, is the glue that holds families together. Even in the face of the urge for herd validation, but within the family, emotions is that glue that will keep us together. In the parting words, Doc.
Over 60 years ago, Mr. Ellis, the men and women of the Caribbean gave up on the futile attempts to have what they called a federation. And we all dissolved into so-called independent states. I think that as we search for ways of reuniting our Caribbean countries into a United States of the Caribbean, we should be looking to fathers and proper parenting so that the Caribbean jewels can once again shine as an example to the world. There are little glimpses all over the Caribbean of men and women wanting to come together to solve this chronic problem. Maybe we should take on this ambitious task of getting it right and spreading the word from island to island and getting our men to reunite as people, not as soldiers, but as crime fighters and as emotional managers, so that our little part of the world can grow in love and unity. Those are my closing comments. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Irons. This has really been.
Like, are there persons who want to know how, for ease of access, how to continue the conversation with us through Parenting Partners?
The email address is there for Parenting Partners. Could you repost it, Janet? And also, I'm interested, as many of us are, I say, Alanto, in Coach Lynn's Fatherhood Summit next May in St. Lucia. We'd love to talk some more with you about how Parenting Partners can be a part of that, or we can have Affirming Fatherhood have a space in that forum. Absolutely. And certainly we want to see how we can get all of us involved in that. It sounds very exciting. The Parenting Partners Caribbean at gmail.com. Parenting Partners Caribbean at gmail.com. Please reach out, let us talk some more and see how we can work together towards really and truly positively affirming fatherhood for the betterment of our families, our communities, and our nations.
Amen.
And to watch out for the next notice of the next webinar, the next conversation.
Absolutely. We're looking towards somewhere in August or thereabouts.
And on a practical note, to get Caribbean Airways and Sandals involved in the process and spending some of our Caribbean money on bettering fatherhood in the Caribbean, which will redound to the benefit of all businesses.
Here, here.
Here,
here. Here, here.
Let me tell Doc, we're already on that one. Both of those two, for
okay.
Sure. And JetBlue. So
okay, well,
yeah.
You know, we're singing from the same hymn book.
I agree.
Absolutely. We're 9 minutes past our scheduled ending time. This has been riveting, rich, and rewarding, and the talk continues. Amen. But more importantly, the action must continue.
Amen.
Let's do something tomorrow, this week, to really tangibly affirm fatherhood.
Amen. You know, we saw a video earlier. If nothing else, tell your children you like them.
Yes.
Do some dishes, do their laundry, do that one.
Yes.
Fix
Tell
their
them and show them.
Yeah, let them see it, let them hear it. Then it's
so Albert Burkett, Albert Daly, Alan Carter, Kenneth White, Christopher Clark, Claudia Frey, Desmond Ellis, let us all, Joseph Heron, me, let us all tell our children we like them. Show them.
I like them. What are you talking to? Why you say that?
Let's all do that. Gentlemen, folks, this has been wonderful. My favorite Jamaican, Miss Lou, said, every hoe have stick a bush, every long road have bend, every hot sun have shady tree, and the longest forest have amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Walk with everybody.
Amen. Have a great day.